This episode is sponsored by Delaware Hyperbarics. Reduce your symptoms, speed your recovery, and reclaim your body at Delaware Hyperbarics, located in Lewis, Delaware. Their facility offers hyperbaric chambers, therapeutic massage, myofascial release, extracorporeal pulse activation therapy, red light therapy, low-level laser therapy, massage for motor vehicle accidents, active isolated stretching, and infrared saunas. To learn more, you can go to DelawareHyperbarics.com or call 302-313-5555. Crosstown Walkers has partnered with New Light CBD for these podcast episodes. If you use CBD as a product to help with your pain management or mental health, all Crosstown Walker listeners can use promo code CTW at newlightcbd.com to receive 10% off your order with New Light CBD. That is NULIGHTCBD.com using promo code CTW. This promo code will be valid until the end of the month. New Light CBD is offering free shipping as well for the end of the month for all listeners. New Light CBD is established and manufactured in the first town in the first state of Lewis, Delaware. To make a donation to the Crosstown Walkers NAMI fundraiser, you can head over to donate.nami.org/crosstownwalkers. You can also head over to crosstownwalkers.com/fundraiser to stay up to date with all the latest information regarding the fundraiser. All patrons will be entered into our gift raffle for a chance to win one of the following items: a CBD bundle full of various products from New Light CBD, 5 infrared sauna sessions at Delaware Hyperbarics, a free brain mapping at Brain Love Neurotherapy, a $250 value for you to learn how your brain is functioning. This involves 2 50-minute sessions, one to get EEG mapped and the second to review your brain maps. And lastly, Lynn McDonald's first book, The Great Tree and the Ladybug. For any questions, you can email devincanfield@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media via Instagram. If you would like to extend your support to Crosstown Walkers, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/CTWmusic. Thank you for tuning into the second episode of the NAMI Crosstown Walkers fundraiser. In honor of the second episode, I've got 22, Derek Henry in the house. Today's episode, we have Octavion Wilson, and Octavion discusses his struggles with his mental health while overcoming pericarditis and peripheral neuropathy. Thank you guys for listening.
My name is Octavion Wilson. I'm from Sussex County, Delaware. I went to Milford High School. I graduated in 2014. I think Mount Union was one of really the first schools that I visited for football to go to because I didn't have any offers. Remember I went, I think it was March, and it was snowing there. And that was a little bit different for me going to Ohio. But I can remember I called my mom about, because I had to spend the night with one of the guys who was a starting running back. His name was BJ Mitchell. So the next day was my actual visit. I got to walk around campus. And I remember I called my mom like an hour into it. And I said, this is the place where I want to be. I don't want to visit any more schools. I just want to go there. This is it. So I came home. I committed there. I went. I think the first week of preseason, my freshman year, I busted 3 of my fingers. I think I hurt my shoulder. And I'm pretty sure I did something to my knee. So it was a lot different than high school. Like the speed was faster. Quarterbacks were throwing a little bit faster. So pretty much in a nutshell, I didn't play any my freshman year. Pretty much rode the bench. We had like a JV team. You know, D3 is a little bit different than Division I. I didn't even play on that. So I was like 20th string. So I was contemplating actually going back home, and I told my mom I don't really want to go back for spring semester. I just really don't want to. But before that happened, I think I was on scout team towards the end of the season. I actually started to get better. I stayed away from the guys. I trained, stayed after practice a lot of times, was beating everybody in conditioning. And I was actually scoring touchdowns on our starting corner. who was, getting scouted for the NFL at the time. His name was Trey Jones. And that I started to catch the coach's, eye. So by the end of my freshman year, I had actually gotten good enough the coach asked me to stay over the summer. Well, we went back for spring ball that year, and I did even better. So he asked me to stay over summer going into my sophomore year because they felt like I could be a bigger part of it. Maybe not start, but actually play my sophomore year. So I never went home, and the coach helped find me a job over the summer. I worked at Wally Armor in Alliance, Ohio. Me and two other guys had our own house, so we just paid rent on it. And all I did was train every single day. And I remember going into the 2015 season, I was a preseason starter. So I went from not touching the field at all my freshman year to starting my sophomore year. And I was doing pretty well. The speed of the game was a lot different because, like I said, I hadn't played the season before. So trying to get acclimated to the playbook, playing with a bunch of juniors and seniors, I was a little bit on the younger side. But I started doing well. I started catching passes, scoring touchdowns, catching my stride and, becoming one of the guys, I guess you could say. But going into the first game of the playoffs, I caught a really bad chest pain. And everything was going well, and I was really upset, and I couldn't understand, and I ignored it because I didn't want to stop playing. I was in the middle of catching a touchdown, handing the ball to the ref, and I just got this crippling pain in the middle of my chest. And I let about 2 weeks go by, ended up losing my spot for the next game because I was getting slower. I was losing weight, and you could just tell I wasn't the same. So I ended up going to the wellness center and listening to the trainer and the coaches saying I needed to go get checked out. And for a simple headache, because I didn't want to tell anyone I had chest pains. The girlfriend I had at the time was noticing I was always complaining about headache. So we went. I finally admitted to the nurse that I was having chest pains. They hooked me up to an EKG, and then immediately she ran back in and said, "We got to get you to the hospital. There's some abnormalities on the left side of your heart." So, we go to the emergency room. They start running tests. They find this, they find that. And then I get referred to the Cleveland Clinic because, they're not heart doctors. They have to send me there first. And that's when I ended up getting diagnosed with pericarditis. So, that was tough because, I went from, 6 foot, 215 pounds, running touchdowns, catching the ball, girlfriend. And then I'd probably say about like 6 months into it, all of it was gone. She left. I really don't think the coaches were as interested in talking to me anymore because I wasn't playing football. I was failing my classes. So my world had fallen apart in a matter of months, really. So I went home that spring semester after the season. They won the championship that year. I got to go to the game, watch everything. And it was just tough because I didn't know if I was going to go back again for the spring semester. So I ended up going back. I ended up, picking up all that slack in my classes, finishing good enough to have passing grades. So I actually went to Texas that year because the pericarditis actually ended up going away. They gave me medicine to pull the fluid away from my heart. So I had to stop playing football at the time, no spring ball. They said to rest, rehab. But I was like 185 pounds after it ran its course. So my cousin's a bodybuilder in Texas. So I went down there to try to, get my muscle back, train. So I got back up to like 210 pounds, was ready to go back and play in 2017. So we go back, 2016 season. Yeah. So we go back And during this preseason, I started not to be able to feel my hands and my feet. So I ignored it again because I didn't really know I thought it was just like some offset side effects from the pericarditis, and it was just, going to go away. But it just got worse and worse. I mean, I would run sometimes and not even feel my feet. I was wide receiver, so I'm trying to catch the ball, and the ball is just going straight through my hands because I don't know when to clench down and catch it. So I probably say like 7 weeks into the 2016 season, I played. But I was on kickoff. I wasn't our starter anymore. I just wasn't the same athlete I was a year before I got sick. So I finally went to the doctor again. And they said, all the fluid around your heart's gone. I went to the Cleveland Clinic, and they said, we find no signs of pericardial fluid anymore. So we're going to refer you to pain management. I had no idea what that was. So I go to I think it was a neurologist, and there's a thing called an EMG. I don't know if you've ever, if you know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
So they pretty much lay you on your back, and for the first 20 minutes, they will shock you. And what the shocks do is it goes throughout your whole body, and they figure out how well your nervous system is responding. So when they shock you, your body is supposed to react fast enough, to let them know if it's slowed or anything like that. I think he shocked me around 4 times. And he said, something's very wrong. But the test was 45 minutes, so I have to sit 40 more minutes knowing something's wrong. So the last 25 minutes there was these little needles that were about that long. And he sticks them in so they can reach inside your muscles. And what that does, he tries to figure out if there's a neuromuscular disease also. So by the end of the test, he went out, came back in. He said I had peripheral neuropathy and a neuromuscular disease. He said your nervous system is slowed so bad that it's not responding fast enough for your age. So another crusher, I just beat pericarditis, and now I have peripheral neuropathy, and I'm losing feeling in my hands and my feet. And, I asked him, just like the pericarditis, is there medicine? Can I get better? Can I play football again? I know I can't play this year, but what about next year? He said, son, I've done this 2,000 times. This is a incurable nerve disease. If anything, it's going to get worse over time. So I leave, and I'm sobbing in the car. I called my parents. They hadn't known yet. And the journey was that year going into spring 2017. He had changed my medication so many times. I was on like 8 pills a day. I think the very last medication he prescribed was giving me suicidal thoughts. It had me doing things that I didn't necessarily want to be doing. Some medicine can help your current situation, but it can introduce other things. And that's what it was doing. So I ended up hopping in my little blue Chevy Aveo, and I just went home. I didn't tell the doctors. I told 2 of my friends, and I just left. So when I got home in 2017, it was around the summertime. I didn't even finish the classes. I just left. And I stopped all the medication. I didn't take a single pill ever again, but it started spreading from my hands and my feet up to my arms, and it started to reach like my head, and I started to have pains on the top of my head, like there was a knife going down inside. And I'd wake up in the morning feeling like there was a bed of nails in my face. So I knew it was more than just peripheral neuropathy, but I refused to see a doctor because I didn't feel like the one that I had really cared. So, from my film, if you've seen it, January 2018, I was laying in my bed. And I think when I woke up, the only thing I could feel was around my face and my head, and I couldn't feel the rest of my body. And that day, God just reminded me that there was just some special people in my life that even through my sickness, through my downfalls, you know, they were still there for me, because a lot of people left my life just because of where I was and what I was doing. So I literally dedicated parts of my body to people. And I mean, it's almost crazy to, even when I say it, because I know it happened, it's like I was literally healed through that process, you know, giving my right arm to someone, my left arm to someone, my mind to my mom. And I remember I woke up the next day and I haven't felt the pain since. It's going to be 2022 soon. I haven't felt the pain since 2018. And
man, that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's really hard for people to understand, because I know I woke up one day and I couldn't feel a single thing except my head. And then the very next day I wake up and there's no more pain. So, but this time I was like 235 pounds because I had lost anyway. I had gained, you know, I was still eating, but the nerve pains were getting to me to the fact where I couldn't work out. So I started going to the gym again, you know, lifting weights, walking on the treadmill, taking it slow. It was January at the time. So going into that summer, I could have played that year coming up, which would have been 2018. But Mount Union didn't want to count my grades as a W because my GPA was like a 3.0 at the time. And for you to transfer to Salisbury is where I wanted to go because I got in touch with them. You had to have a 2.0 to transfer. And my grades were good enough. But that semester that I left when I was sick and I just didn't want to really deal with anything, they counted all those grades as an F. Now, say it how you want it. I wrote a petition to see if I could, you know, let them know I was sick. I had medical records and they just wouldn't allow it. So my GPA dropped below the 2.0. I had to go to Del Tech for 2 semesters, pay off a balance and work 3 jobs all at the same time. And I did that for a whole year. So I got myself to go to Salisbury to play 2019 season. Came in as a starter, played, won the Mayo Clinic Comeback Player of the Year, which was a national award that no other D3 person has won yet the past 4 years. And I broke the single game receiving record with almost 200 yards in a game. And the previous record was like 135.
There you go. That's what's up.
So I had a pretty good comeback season. And we went to the Elite Eight. I think it was our first undefeated season since 2004. So having not played football in 3 years and coming back from heart and nerve damage, it was very fulfilling for me. We went to the Fiesta Bowl when they presented the awards, the Ohio State Clemson game in 2019. And it's like 80,000 people. We got to go on the field. There was an on-field presentation. So, I mean, that was exhilarating because I've never been inside a stadium where there was 80,000 people at State Farm Stadium. And
that's a lot my mom got to go.
Yeah, my mom, she was just all smiles. And, you know, my mom is coming from a very dark place in life in Compton, California. So being able to give her that was amazing. So I ended up getting in touch with the NFL agent while I was in Arizona, and he was interested in helping me, you know. So I came back, kept training, and he was in contact with the Ravens and the Jets, but it was very minimal, and we knew that because I was a D3 player, went to a triple option school, and they didn't really throw the ball a lot. But we did a virtual pro day. He was still in contact with a couple of teams before preseason. And then the coronavirus hit. So it got even tougher. So I jumped into the work world, into a sales position, and I came up with something called Optimum Track. And it's a business that I want to use to inspire people. I want to use it to motivate people. And it just ties into I want to help people get on the best possible path for their life, whatever that means and however I can do it. So that's really where I'm at now, is in the process of building my business and helping the people around me in my community. So long-winded, but it's that's kind of how my story goes.
Well, God bless, for real. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you sharing the information and the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack. Now, pericarditis, if I'm getting this correct, I've got this written down. I want to make sure that I'm doing this justice.
Yeah.
A neuro. Well, this is peripheral neuropathy, a neuromuscular disease resulting from damage to the nerves outside of the brain and spinal cord.
Yeah.
And then pericarditis, and that's an excess fluid being built up around the heart.
Yeah. It's so there's like a sac around your heart. It's and there's like a little one at the bottom, and it's called the pericardial sac. So there was fluid around that, and it would inflame. It'd make it almost seem like you have a heart attack, because when it inflames, it feels like it's burning. Mm-hmm. So that same fluid that was around my heart was also around my lungs, and that's called pleurisy. So you have to take certain medication to suck that fluid out of you, pretty much. But it takes time, because depending on your body and your heart, it just, it could take 3 months, it could take a year. So it kind of just differs.
Being a football player, I mean, what goes through your head in those moments when you find those things out, and how did you kind of deal with those things?
I say when I found out about the pericarditis, that was probably, that was tough, because, at the moment, this was November. It was around this time of the year in 2015. Mm-hmm. I always tell my mom, like, when I look back, it was supposed to end because it wasn't going the right way. But I tell my mom all the time, there was nothing in that moment that I could have asked God for, because I had the girlfriend, I had a starting position on a national #1 ranked Division III school. I was #1 in my mechanical engineering class. I had a minor in computer science. I didn't want for anything. I ate every night. We had meal plans. If you wanted to go eat at 12 o'clock in the morning, you had a little bit of a stipend to go eat. Like, I didn't need or want for anything. And then in a matter of a snap of a finger, I found out I have pericarditis, and the girl leaves. There's no football. All my classes turn to Fs because I can't really go to class. And all the support I had was gone. So, thoughts of, and it's really hard to say, but thoughts of taking my life, thoughts of just not wanting to be here anymore definitely crossed my mind. And I had a really close friend. His name was Luke Porman. And I can remember the night it really got dark for me, where I had to call him to come get me. I think I stayed in his room for like a week, to just feel safe, because my sophomore year, I had a roommate, but he only stayed there for like a week, and then he got his own place. I had my own room. I put the 2 twin double beds together to make a king size, kind of suite in my room. So I didn't have any supervision or anything like in that time of struggle. The girl I was with, she left, and she was my support in her family, because my family's 8 hours away in Delaware. I could pick up the phone and talk to them, but a shoulder to lean on, someone to cry with, it's not the same as if you're in person.
Because I think that's very kind of prevalent, unfortunately, in this world, is these types of situations, if they happen, depending on the other person's, whether it's a romantic partner, whether it's friend or family, depending on like the emotional capacity that they have. I don't know. I think sometimes you find more often than not that people kind of do jump ship, and what Was it something of that nature, you feel like, or?
Because I can remember when I got the diagnosis and she was with me at the Cleveland Clinic, and we were both like, jaw wide open, like, what the heck? Like, we have a game on Saturday.
Yeah, which is, that's a lot.
Well, actually, so before I went to the Cleveland Clinic, there was a heart doctor in Alliance, Ohio, like right in town. And I went to him. And I can remember we were about to play Wisconsin Whitewater for the semifinal game. Because mind you, after the first playoff game, I ignored it for about 2 weeks. And then I went to the doctor. So I watched them beat the next team. I was on the sidelines and beat the next team after that. But somehow, some way, even with a heart condition, I worked my way back into, they wanted me to play coming up if they needed me to. But aside from that, we went to the hospital and he told me, we don't know what's wrong with your heart, but you can't play right now until we figure it out. And I think in that moment, I saw fear in both our eyes. And, we went to the Cleveland Clinic because I didn't get referred to the Cleveland Clinic until actually months after. The story is really crazy because they just could not figure out what was wrong with me because they didn't think to stick an echocardiogram in my heart to figure out there was actually fluid. So by the time I had gotten there, she was already gone. She went to the first appointment, but, and I always look at it from her point of view. You got to think we were 20 years old, sophomores in college. From that point of view, you're supposed to be having the time of your life. She was the girlfriend of a football player. If your boyfriend was a starter, you had like your own seat in the stadium. It was cool for her, I think, but she told me straight up, there's too many doctor's appointments. I have to get up in the middle of the night. I'm missing class. I can't do it anymore. And she left. And I think it was just fear of what if this goes on for 5 years? I'll be with this guy who has this bad heart and how is it going to end? So I think, the shock for both of us, I just think, honestly, she didn't want to keep putting up with what I had to go through. Because there's nights I just didn't sleep,
Was it because of the condition or because of your actual mind also racing?
Mind racing, but that inflammation, when it inflames, I'm grabbing my chest. It feels like you're almost having a heart attack. It was one of the worst feelings because it could be 2 seconds, it could be 5 seconds, it could be 15 seconds. And, we were together for a while and I could just see it in her eyes. If he has another chest pain, it was that kind of thing. So it's, I could understand you're 20 years old, you're in college, you don't, dealing with the heart condition is hard.
Did you feel isolated?
I did because, and like I said, I wanted to leave Delaware when I went to college. I didn't want to stay anywhere near. I just wanted to go. And my mom was okay with that. So, I had found really good friends when I was there, but I think when you have a room to yourself, I didn't shower for 2 weeks. I didn't leave my room for 2 weeks. When I got sick, I didn't go to class. And I can still remember those 2 weeks, leading up to that night I had to stay with my roommate. Nobody saw me for 2 weeks. I didn't shower. If I needed to eat, it was some noodles or something I had in my room. I just put in my microwave. And it was one of the darkest times because I felt alone. Because all the coaches that cared about me, the dean of students that would take me out to lunch, I didn't hear from those people.
Those are the types of moments when you would expect that you have those types of support. And who did you end up turning to? Did you, that's why I'm assuming just hop in your car, went back home, but.
I didn't hop in my car until I went back home until 2017. So this is right after the 2015 season in spring.
Gotcha.
But I think that's when they're my two best friends. I still talk to them until this day. Jarrett and Luke were the two guys that we're not leaving you alone. You need to go somewhere, you come with us. Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
They were there. They just, you know, they were there.
And what did that kind of show you? Like, what did that kind of, even now as you can reflect and kind of feel those emotions about it, what did that kind of show you?
I think through everything they saw, everything that I had been through, like, we gonna ride with this guy no matter what. You know, if he has to go to the hospital, he'll go to the hospital. If he gets better, he gets better. But it wasn't, their friendship to me wasn't predicated on my condition. It was like, they're going to be my friends, my brothers, no matter what. And I felt that deeply because, like, the teammates I had, they were just connected to me because of football, which is okay because they weren't close friends. You know, the girl and her family, they just became detached. And I think those were just the two guys who held it down for me. And I have group chat with them even still today. And we talk all the time, and they just, you know, they're my brothers.
What was their names? Jared and
Jared, Ruth, and Luke Portman. I can throw their names out there because they're my boys. So they
yeah, everyone needs a Jared and a Luke. You said,
trust me, it's
in their life.
Yeah, because I don't, especially that night when things just weren't good. Mm-hmm. I called him. He said, "Yeah, just come to my room," but he wasn't expecting what I was telling him because Luke was actually younger than me, and Jared, because he was a year behind me, and me and Jared were the same age. And he just, that night he was there, and Mortal Kombat, believe it or not, was our, like, woosah. It was like, if we found some type of way, we'd just beat each other up on the video game. And it was just weird because guys communicate differently than women. You know, it's like, we talked about it, but we really didn't talk about it. You know, like, we would throw it all out there and then just, like, play a video game or go for a drive. But the communication was good enough that I knew he cared enough, and it made me feel safe, you know.
Was that something that you felt was kind of a challenge as well, kind of expressing those sides of yourself?
To kind of give, like, a preface to that, I grew up with a single mother. She had two boys. And I saw my mom struggle a lot growing up. So for me, I grew up very, very fast. And it wasn't my mom's fault. I think I put this on myself as a kid. It's like, I'm not going to show any emotion. You want to know why? Because my mom has enough problems going on. And it was almost like, if you have a problem, deal with it internally yourself, because mom is already nickel and diming for food. She doesn't need your problems. So that's how I grew up. And my mom didn't press that upon me, but I grew up so fast that at, like, 13, 14, I already had those ideas in my head. So I never talked about my problems. So having to sit down with Luke and, like, explain that, like, bro, I don't really want to be here. It's like, I barely ever told my mom that I had a headache, like, and having to sit down with somebody I had only knew for, like, a year, that I had, suicidal thoughts. It's kind of like, I had to shift because I needed help. So it was very different because I was the quiet one. I was like the big brother. I never needed, like, help. I was the one who talked to you to get through your problems. But now that I needed help, they stepped up and helped me. So it was definitely new because I in my entire life, I never had to do that.
And you did you feel like you had no other choice at that point?
Oh, for sure. Because if I knew I didn't get help, my life was going down a different path. So it's kind of like, And I had to say to myself, like, there's got to be a change, because something's going to happen to myself if I don't like talk to one of my friends that I could trust. And I had trusted Luke at that point in my life to just go tell him anything. So yeah, it was a big adjustment, and not only telling it first, but the ongoing support. Because it's one thing to tell someone something and they help you, but for them to be there lifelong, that's another big step, you know, because anybody can sit there with you that night and tell you it's going to be okay. You don't find them, you know, the next day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were there through every step of the way. So
that's amazing. That's actually really cool to hear.
Yeah.
So what, I guess kind of with everything now, you've had a lot of time to reflect on these things. Well, I even wanted to say too, I put this down. You were also a nominee for the Capital One Orange Bowl FWAA Courage Award, which previous winners were James Conner from Arizona Cardinals, who's killing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely killing it this year. He's an amazing story, cancer survivor. Eric LeGrand from Rutgers.
Uh-huh.
I mean, man, you went from essentially being paralyzed to getting actually back on the field. In hindsight now, kind of looking back, like what have you done since then? Like what part of your mind even, or I'll digress, what part of your mind, like in those moments, and you mentioned like your faith a lot, that you're kind of relied on that, but what were some of those things in those moments of almost, how I'm just going to say paralyzed, whether that's the correct terminology or not, but like in those moments of feeling paralyzed, like emotionally, spiritually, physically, like so what's going through your head to make you take a switch? And I know you said like, I'm going to give this to God, but like, what are some of the things that are going through your head that got you to actually get back on the field? And where does that apply to you today still?
Well, that day in particular, like aside from, you know, praying, just letting go, because sometimes we want to like handle everything on our own, and we can't. So I had to give all my problems to God and let him deal it the way he wanted to deal with it. But, you know, I just remember my mom nickel and diming when I was a kid. I can just remember having a tough childhood. I can remember all these things started to like, you ever seen like the Rocky movies and like that montage? And as he's working out, like all those memories of those struggles he had just pop up, and it just makes him strong. And that's what happened to me. It's like, I've been through way too much already to do this the rest of my life. So I just, when I gave it to God and I just used faith that he could heal me, and he did, I think moving forward, it's like, I never knew how strong I was until I got sick, you know, because it was one thing to be healed, but I got out of the bed at 235 pounds with a crippled body. You know, it's like, he didn't just throw muscle on me. I had to go put in the work to become and look like what I look like today. And, you know, I used to put a picture up of my mom on the treadmill when I was running. And it's like, you don't stop because you can't. Like I gave myself no other choice but to have a comeback. And it was like, if your mom can go through all these years of working 2 jobs, working 3 jobs, you know, toting 2 boys around, and, you know, low income housing, and she got her own house built one day for you and your brother, you owe her that, you know? So at this point in my life, after everything that's happened, my mom being such a driving force in my life, it's like, I have no choice but to be successful. I have no choice but to help impact people, because I had a good support system, you know, behind me that pushed me to where I am today.
Yeah, with family, and it sounds like you had the friends that you found to get you through those times too, which is a huge X factor. I mean, some people, like, that equation is always different. Maybe they don't have family, but they've got friends, or they don't have friends, they've got family, or maybe they don't have both. And I think that's what we're trying to do with this project here, is that we don't know what that equation is for each person. And a lot of the times are people too scared to speak up about that. Like you said right there too, like even relinquishing control and letting go. I mean, that's scary. And that's hard as hell in this world. And I feel like as men, it is sometimes too, not that it's a prideful thing. It's just we were never really formally taught that, like, hey.
Yeah, because the world views a man as the strong one that is, in all honesty, your problems are almost irrelevant. And I know it's getting better, but it's like the woman is the emotional one. She's supposed to come to you about stuff. As far as for me, that's how I see it in society. Because it's like I saw it when the NFL was doing like the awareness for mental health. You know, I saw people in the comments on that post like, man, is this supposed to have mental health? I'm like, you have no idea. Some people wake up every day and just like don't want to be here because you don't know what they're going through. And society looks at it as it's like it's almost weird for a man to even utter mental health. You know, it's sad, but I think it's getting better. But I just think we have to push. Like, if you need help, go get help. No matter what people say, no matter how people look at it, because I know for myself, I needed help. You know, and I had never asked for help my entire life, but you know, it got down to the nitty gritty, and you know, something was going to happen to me if I didn't go get the help.
And in terms of the NFL, you got people like Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys, Hayden Hurst from Atlanta Falcons, all kind of beginning to advocate more and more for mental health. NBA players, Kawhi Leonard, even DeMar DeRozan, these pinnacle athletes that are saying things. Kevin Love, Chris Long from the NFL as well. Yeah,
and like Calvin Ridley just stepped away because he wants to focus on his mental health. You know, and people bashed him for it. And I'm like, walk a day in his shoes, and I really want to see if you could get through it. Because we have no idea what's going on in his life. He's an NFL player, so it all looks good, you know. But internally, childhood things, we didn't grow up the way he grew up. We don't have the problems that he has, you know, because his presence is on a football field and nice cars he drives, you know. It's not behind the scenes when he goes home. So I think people just have to be mindful of not what a person does or who they are, but like what they go through on a daily basis. We have no idea. Calvin really could he could have something internally going on in his mind that he just needed to step away because football was getting in the way of his mental health. That's just how I looked at it. I said good for him.
And we just don't know.
No.
And I think if we use that sort of example of, say, someone like Calvin Ridley, we just don't know. And we're kind of on the consumer end of the spectrum too, to look at him and like, he's a piece of our entertainment, you know, like he's almost a product in a way to most people. But at the end of the day, the truth is that all I really know is that he's a human being, and I wouldn't know what he's going through unless I had him on a FaceTime like I did with you to be like, tell him about what's going on, whatever. You don't know. We don't. And that's another thing it's challenging. It's challenging to step up and say, I need to step away from this because I'm struggling with these things. Because you risk a lot of things. Like you risk the chances of being judged, ridiculed, people leaving you, going into an isolating experience, but it can promote the evolution of your life and your well-being, regardless if you're an athlete or just anybody. But I wanted to ask you, and once again, dude, thank you for sharing all of this. This is amazing to hear. What are some of the things you're up to now to keep yourself kind of in check, like with your mental well-being, physical well-being? Like, do you have some sort of kind of like self-care routine for yourself in the sense
Yeah.
of habits, routines like that?
Yeah. Like, I think now, like, if I want to go home and don't really want to talk to anybody, I do that respectfully, because I know for my mental health, my well-being, my mind, like that just means I need to step away and not talk to anyone for a bit. It may impact people and they may get a little upset because they want to see me, hang out with me, but I know from experience, like I need to listen to my body.
You mean like kind of like setting a boundary, like, I'm going to be doing my thing. I'm just chilling. Like, what does that look like for you?
I think like when people want to go out to eat, when people want to have dinner, and it's kind of like I've already been out and about and I kind of just want to go home and be in my own confined space, I just respectfully say, I'm just going to go home. I'm just going to relax, watch TV, because sometimes like a person like needs that, because the world can get overwhelming no matter what you do. And I think if people don't stop and like alone time with themselves and talk to God, read their Bible, and they get so hooked up into doing everything else other people want to do, that can also create, pathways to mental health problems, because you're always around others rather than focusing on yourself. So I think now a big part of me is just like, if my body tells me that it needs to rest, I rest. I train every day. I'm still in shape. And I just think like trying to get outreach into my community, the local churches, doing outreach with them. That's how I keep myself grounded now is prayer. And if my body tells me to go rest, I go rest.
Amen to
because you need it.
Mm-hmm. And then you said Optimum Track, right?
Yeah.
That was called Optimum Track?
Yeah. So I got
tell
that
us tell us a little bit more about Optimum Track.
So I got that name. I was just searching, and optimal means the highest degree attainable is what that word means. And track is just a path that someone walks. So to put those two things together, it's really, I want to help people get on the highest attainable life, highest attainable path for their life. However that may be. There's going to be shirts, hats, shorts in the future. And it's kind of just going to be a motivational type of business where, if you want to train with me, you train with me. We can do over the FaceTime, meal plans. I'm kind of still building it and writing the game plan, but it's going to be more towards like selling shirts, hats, and things like that. And maybe getting a building, running a gym, things like that. So I really want to turn it into something good, and for it to be more of an outreach and help the homeless, help people that are less fortunate. So just creating like a foundation for people around me.
Great, man. And I want to kind of conclude with this. Your mom
mm-hmm.
and her influence on you. How important was that?
I don't think it was tough on my mom. I just think it was different for her because like I was that kid that just grew up that just never really said anything. I didn't really have problems, and now I'm sick over and over again. And I have to talk to people and let them know how I'm feeling because they need to know if I'm okay. So I think, I made a promise to my mom when I was 15 years old. I was like, you're never going to have to work another day in your life because of my success. And I think that promise has driven me to become what I said I was going to become. So she's always been the driving force in my life. And she told me there were some nights where like, she would pray so hard she didn't have any more tears left, because like she wanted me to be okay. I've just seen my mom go through so much with two boys, raising them by herself. Like she deserves the world, man. Like, and I just want to be able to give that to her, whatever way I can. I heard Cordell Patterson. There was a post on the NFL. He's like, my mom worked 3 jobs growing up. Why can't I play 3 positions?
He's killing it too right now.
Yeah, he's killing it. And I mean, and like, that's my mindset. It's like, whatever I have to do, I'm going to do to help my mother. And she's a grown woman. She can manage herself. But if I can give her a glimpse of what I've seen in my dreams that I know is possible, I want to be able to give her that good life that she never really had. So she's been a huge influence and a driving force for me.
If someone was out there right now and they're kind of dealing with their own mental health struggles, or maybe like a physical ailment, in kind of something that you've experienced where they're told, hey, you're never going to do this again, or the odds are not in your favor, but you like like you said, I've done this 2,000 times. I've seen this 2,000 times, buddy. I got nothing for you. Or another one is, they're having trouble getting answers to something. There's like, something's wrong. I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
What's your word for maybe somebody like that?
I would probably say, James 1:1 says, in the book of James, there's a scripture that says, be happy when you're tempted or when things are not going your way, because that just means it's another door that's about to open for you. I just would say stay strong, because like, I never knew how strong-willed and strong-minded I was until I actually got sick and trials came my way. And another thing is, like, whatever you're going through, like, God trusts you with that. Like, he has enough confidence in you that you can overcome it. So it's kind of like, whatever you're going through in life, you already have the power to get through it. You just have to pray and let go and give it to him and let him guide you. So I think at the end of the day, if anyone out there is struggling, it's like, don't give up, but like, almost like, love the process. I don't know if you know who Eric Thomas is, the motivational preacher. He says, so he does this thing. You should look it up, man. He's like, a lion is a lion because they love the process more than the prize. Like when they go out and chase gazelles every day, like, they almost like love the hunt more than they like actually catching and eating it. And it's like, I think the thing about me is, I love the process of getting back in shape, beating my struggles, because it made me appreciate where I am today. So it's almost like, fall in love with your unfortunate situation, because when you come out of it, you can look back and say you got over that. It sounds weird. It's like, but if you can fall in love with the process, life will be scared of you. It'll think twice about bringing anything else next to you. Like, I dare life to give me another challenge, because I'm ready. And that's just been my attitude. It's like, I've gotten through everything. I grew up without my biological father, went through heart damage, nerve damage, mental health. I lost a lot of friends growing up. Like, I just won't let life defeat me, You had a new film release, short film by Sideline, right? Yeah.
That was the company or the creators, produced by, let's see, we got Ian Cruz. Is that right?
Yeah. And Mike Fitzgerald's directed it. Yeah. That's the guy who I've been in contact with. Yeah. Okay.
And you could find that on YouTube.
Yep. Yeah, it should be I'll send you the link so you have that, but you can find it right on YouTube. It's called The Comeback, Octavion Wilson Story. If you just search that, you can find it. But it's just tells the story, how everything happened. So yeah.
All right. Well, we'll link that in the descriptions and everything like that. People who are listening and or watching, go make sure you check that out. Octavion, thank you, brother. This episode is sponsored by Delaware Hyperbarics. Reduce your symptoms, speed your recovery, and reclaim your body at Delaware Hyperbarics, located in Lewis, Delaware. Their facility offers hyperbaric chambers, therapeutic massage, myofascial release, extracorporeal pulse activation therapy, red light therapy, low-level laser therapy, massage for motor vehicle accidents, active isolated stretching, and infrared saunas. To learn more, you can go to DelawareHyperbarics.com or call 302-313-5555. NAMI envisions a world where all people affected by mental health can live healthy, fulfilling lives, supported by a community that cares. NAMI provides advocacy, education, support, and public awareness so that all individuals and families affected by mental health can build better lives. Today, NAMI is an alliance of more than 600 local affiliates and 48 state organizations who work in your communities to raise awareness and provide support and education that was not previously available to those in need. Crosstown Walkers stands by organizations like NAMI. To show your support, go to donate.nami.org/crosstownwalkers, or you can head to crosstownwalkers.com/fundraiser to find more information.